So I realized that I did that way too fast in the whole presentation, but in conclusion, Hot Springs continues to be a premier spot for health and wellness for visitors and locals alike. Even if people don't necessarily realize that that's what they're coming here for, we kind of hit them from all angles, benefiting all aspects of human health. And we have as you saw, we have a significant history of public health in this national park, which is a super interesting and very cool place to be. Like I said, I'm done. Oh no, sorry, did all that. Yeah, those are my references, but I would love to chat, take questions, if anybody has them. Yes, ma'am.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about your job and what you do with the visitors and what might be available for us if we apply tours?
Sure, heck yeah. So my job is I'm the volunteer coordinator, as Liz said. So locals who could be volunteers, I see you. But in the park, we have the Fordyce, which is our park visitor center, which is currently closed for renovation, sort of. We're replacing all of the exhibits. So the Fordyce opened as the Museum and Visitor Center in 1989, and the exhibits had not been touched since 1989. So it was certainly time to get some new stuff in there. Hopefully that should be open beginning of March. At some point, we're not putting a date on it, just so we don't build up hope and then disappoint. So there's that. That's going to be really fun to explore. I would highly recommend every single person in this room come to the Fordyce once we reopen. You'll learn a lot about the history of the park and the culture that exists in this city. We have 26 miles of hiking trails. They're all fabulous. I haven't really found one yet that I dislike. What else? The 2 active bathhouses, like I said. Anybody ever camped at Gulf Gorge Campground? 1? Sweet, I get it. Why would you camp if you lived here? But that's kind of fun. Is that kind of what you were looking for? I'm not sure.
Well, during the summertime, do you do tours?
Oh, yeah. So we do guided walking tours. So basically this program is kind of adapted into a 45-minute walking tour around Bathhouse Row and the Grand Promenade. That's all the rangers on our team offer different programs. So we focus on different topics. So one of my coworkers over the summer, she did a tour on the resiliency of hot springs, focusing on the history of fires and floods in town. Who was here last month for Kane's program? So he focuses on like the connection of hot springs and the National Park Service as a whole. That's like his jam. And so his tour was kind of about that. I'm sure his program was similar to the tour that he gave over the summer. But we're also gonna soon start Fordyce tours. So we will give very short kind of 20-minute programs inside the Fordyce. Everything is free about various topics. So don't hold me to this because I haven't made it yet. But I want to do one on like the women's history in hot springs and the women of the Fordyce and women of the bathhouses in general. I know one of my coworkers wants to focus on like the equipment in the gym. So there's a whole host of things that will be coming up. We will put them all on our event calendar, which is on our website. So it's nps.gov/HOSP, and then there's a little tab for event calendar, and we have every single program on that. I hope. Fingers crossed.
Y'all also have a really neat Facebook page that people should check out.
We do. I run it.
And you're probably.
Yes, we do have a neat Facebook page and we post a lot about what's going on in the park. So if you're ever curious or concerned about park goings on, visit our Facebook page.
What's the status of the Libby
Great question.
and the Maurice?
And the Maurice. I have a little bit more info on the Maurice than I do on the Libby.
Is the Libby National Park property?
It is. Yep. The Maurice is at some point in the near future, will undergo basically like a complete gut and rehaul or overhaul so that it could be inhabitable. So much like all of the other bathhouses on Bathhouse Row had to undergo in order for lessees to get in there, or even just Park Service staff. That is the process that's starting for the Maurice. I do not have a timeline exactly, but it's happening. I ran into people in the Maurice this morning. I use it as a bike storage spot. And I never see humans. And I walked in this morning and there were humans, architects and civil engineers and such. So things are moving on the Maurice. The Libby, I am so sorry, I have no idea. I think that's the goal, is to get there with the Libby. So to make it into a place that could be inhabited again by somebody or something.
Is it just mothballed?
I've never been inside. They haven't let me in yet. I know. Anything else? Yes, sir.
What, I'm sure the Park Service has met or is meeting in regards to the eclipse and what's going to transpire with the eclipse and
Yeah.
all the people coming to town, et cetera, et cetera.
What is your question?
What, my question is, has the Park Service planning or in discussion about what's going to transpire when all these people show up?
Yes, certainly. Meetings are already happening. My supervisor is in monthly, if not weekly meetings already with local partners. So like the Science Museum and ASMSA and National Park College and stuff. So we're like tearing down, getting ready for the eclipse that's incoming. I, shameless plug, will be recruiting a cohort of like at least 100 volunteers for said event, because it's gonna be huge. I've heard numbers around like 300,000 people are gonna descend upon the city. 500,000? Oh my word. Okay, so I've been lowballing it. 500,000 people descend in like one single day. So it could be really cool for you all. One, it could be an awesome excuse to get out of town. Or you could be very involved and sign up as a volunteer.
I've also heard too that they don't just come for one day, they come for like a week.
Correct. Yes, that is also expected. It's gonna be a multi-week event of having an obscene amount of people here. But we're really excited because we're planning a lot of interesting education programs for kids and for the general public about the eclipse. If you're anything like me, I don't know a single thing about solar eclipses. I think I was at a gas station the last time it happened in New Jersey. I had no idea what was going on. So it's gonna be an awesome opportunity for us all to learn about solar eclipses. And our rangers will be like ready to teach and handle crowds. So it is absolutely, to answer your question, absolutely on our minds, like forefront of our minds. Because it's a little over a year out, but it's gonna be a Herculean effort for the city and the park and all parties involved. Yes, sir.
I want to ask a question about the water. I get my drinking water from the cold water fountain,
Okay.
and I see a lot of locals there and people that travel from Malvern in the country and that. And I wonder, first of all, how many locals even know that there's cold water springs in Hot Springs National Park, if there's any, ever done any studies on that? And the second thing is, have there ever been any studies of health benefits of drinking that hot water?
Two very good
What's
questions.
not working all the
I don't know, I don't believe there's been any studies about like how many locals are aware of the drinking water that's available to them. And if it did happen, it was years and years and years ago, that would likely be out of date at this point. To answer your second question about the health benefits of drinking the water, I'm not entirely sure if anybody's ever looked at the health benefits of water. It's a little tough because water goes through our system so fast. There are a lot of minerals in the water. That's what I think draws most people to it. And the minerals in the thermal water are certainly considered to be good for us. Now, like a longitudinal study or like a real long-term study to see if, for 35 years of drinking the thermal water, if it's at all beneficial to our health, I don't think that's been done. I would be curious to see what the results would be.
Impossible to do, frankly. You'd have to have a controlled experiment and getting
It'd be
way too
hard.
many variables.
Yeah. Probably costs a lot of money.
I just can't imagine trying.
time. Do it with mice.
Extrapolate, right.
Yes, sir.
How does the National Park Service measure visitors?
That's a good question. So I am fascinated by the way that the National Park Service counts visitors. There are so many metrics. There's a lot of equations as to like how they go about it. Here at Hot Springs, I know that we measure visitation. I don't know the equation that goes into how to come up with that final, or wherever it was, final like 2.1 million. But I know that we measure or we count visitors at like checkpoints essentially. So how many people come into the Fordyce every day? How many people go into the Lamar, the bookstore? How many people stay at the campground? We have trail counters on like high trafficked trails. We have car counters on the two mountain roads. We do not count, I recently found out, we do not count everybody who drives down Central Avenue. Dear God, we have like millions and millions and millions of visitors every year, which wouldn't be an accurate representation of how many people we're actually welcoming to the park. It's just like passers-by. What else? Oh, like we also take numbers from our concessioners and our lessees of the bathhouses. So people who go into Superior, that's counted because you're inside of the national park. People who go into the mountain tower, that is counted. So there's a whole, like I said, big long equation that the social scientists at our national office in DC do that we never see. We give them the numbers, they spit out a big number for us.
So I go to the visitor center, walk down a trail, look at the tower, and count it 3 times.
Well, that's what this equation does, is it accounts for people doing multiple things. And I think they look at it like on average, the average visitor, are they going to do, how many things are they gonna do, right? Like, is every single person who comes into the Fordyce also gonna camp at the campground? No. So they're probably not counted twice. You go into the Fordyce, you also have to come out of the Fordyce. You're not counted twice. So that's where it gets complex and kind of muddy that I am not involved in. That's up here, I'm down here. Yes, ma'am.
So if the Congress does not pass a budget amendment, are we gonna have yellow tape downtown again?
If we go into a shutdown, I was not here for the 2019 shutdown, so I don't know how this park handled it.
Yellow tape
Yellow tape, like,
around, blocking tape.
okay,
You can jump over it, but
okay. I'm sure that was a resource protection
Oh, that's funny.
effort, but I don't know. They passed the budget for this year.
Yeah, well,
which is exciting in like a normal-ish amount of time.
Cool.
But yeah, I know the trails all stay open, because you can't really close them.
Theoretically, they close down the trails
On paper,
on paper.
it's probably recommended that you don't.
Yeah.
But, yeah, again, that's up here. We're done. Yes, sir.
I see a lot more rangers around when I'm on Promenade or Whittington Park,
Cool.
giving trail tours and things. And I wonder what's happened with staffing in the recent years. Has it increased or have you changed your emphasis? And also just funding, what's gone on with funding over the recent years with Hot Springs National Park? Or make up your own question.
That's up here.
That's up here, down here. I know that there were some vacancies, at least on our team, so I'm on the Interpretation and Visitor Services Division. We are the most public facing, except if you get in trouble, and then those rangers look like me, they just carry guns. And they're usually friendly. But we get paid to be friendly, they don't. So my team is like probably the people you see the most with the flat hats, or our volunteers. We've had a fun I don't mean to like exclusively plug my volunteer program, but we have had an influx of locals who are really invested in trail roving. So they are already hikers and they love to hike. And so we just, slap a volunteer t-shirt on them, give them some maps, and like they represent the park then. And so they're out and about. They're kind of our eyes and ears of the national park for places that we just can't get, like way out in the Sunset Trail. None of us can get out there just per the parameters of our job. But having those like dedicated volunteers, that's awesome. So I don't know if you've been seeing those or if you've been seeing like ranger paid staff.
Yeah, people in park uniforms and hats.
We are encouraged to go outside, which is great. You all watch my program. I like forced a whole cadre of rangers out on a walk that last week when it was like 75 degrees. Because it's good for us to get outside. Sometimes we're like on computers for too long. So there is a push from our management team to like get out and interact with the public more. So I don't know if it's just been kind of like a management change, kind of priority change. When I was brought on, we had, there were some vacancies on our team that were filled kind of all at once. So that's possible. We just have more people. Our rangers are friendly. I don't know if they weren't, not that they weren't before, but we like to get out and talk to people. I don't know if that answered your question. It was like a perfectly vague response. I don't know the funding status. Again, we're at different levels here. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
So we really know what you look like. Put that hat on.
Oh, yeah. I'll wear it out. So just, catch a glance when I'm on my way out, and then you.
Excuse it.
I'm not supposed to wear hats indoors per the uniform policy. Yes.
Y'all ever do any formal, whatever you do, the interpretation at Whittington?
So this has been an ongoing discussion. I personally would love nothing more than to do interpretive program at Whittington. I love Whittington. I think it is an absolute gem of the park that is generally under-visited by out-of-towners, which for us locals, I think is like prime time. But rangers have tried in the past to do programs at Whittington and nobody shows up. So it has been generally decided, we're not barred from doing programs at Whittington, but for like our effort and resources to compared to what's gained, like public value, it's not typically worth it to do programs at Whittington. One day, it would be really cool, to get like, it's just so, in national park terms, it's not actually far, right? Whittington is like a mile from the Fordyce. But to corral people to get there is very difficult. I would love at some point to be able to do that. I just think for the foreseeable future, we probably won't have anything at Whittington unless it's a special event. We've had special events there. So you could argue that's formal programming, but not like our day-to-day tours. We don't really go out to Whittington.
What special events?
We had a World Book Day event last year at Whittington Park. It was thrown together pretty quick, and so we didn't have too much time to advertise it, but stuff like that, where you just kind of need a quiet space, Whittington is perfect. Yes, I know.
I think it'd be a good place when you're doing things in preparation for the eclipse.
Oh,
Because
certainly,
there's no place to park really.
yeah.
On Bathhouse Row, and there you'd have a lot of parking and a lot of space.
I'm sure for the eclipse, every inch of the national park will be utilized. Except camping, don't camp unless you're in the campground. You will be found.
With the ones with the gun.
Yeah, exactly, not me, someone will find you. So we have like 4 minutes left. I know you want to be done by 1. So any final pressing questions? I appreciate you all sitting through this, this program about health. I hope that you came away with something of value about the connection between public health and not just Hot Springs National. This was specifically about Hot Springs National Park, but this could be applied to really any green space or park in your life, in your community, when you're visiting places. All facets of our health can benefit from spending time in nature. All right.
Biddy had to leave, so I will close first by thanking Kendra for that wonderful program, which was both entertaining and really, really enlightening. Thank you, and I'm sure we're all going to be calling her to volunteer for the event. I want to invite you again to be here on the 21st for our program about the parks and also the reception for Author Tim Spofford at the Convention Center from 4 to 6 that afternoon. Hope we see you all there. And thank you for coming and your support. Our society cannot do its work without the support of the community, and y'all are just great about supporting us. We thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.